So we're on Daf Lamed Hey in Beitsa, starting at the bottom of Amud Aleph, and hopefully we'll get to the end of the parak very soon. It's on the next page. Okay, so towards the bottom of the page, 6 lines from the bottom, exactly, just past the halfway point of the line. Ki asa Rabbi. Want to try it, Jack?
Asa Rabbi. Amar Rav Yochanan.
So let's stop there. What does it mean, ki asa? Right, I always say ki is a key word. It can mean a number of things. Here we're telling kind of a story. So you start a story by saying what?
Because.
No, you start a story usually like when so-and-so came from, right, when Jack came back from America.
Yeah, X, Y, Z.
So ki in this case would mean when. As a statement, not a question. Now what's asa?
It's said.
No, if you think about it, have you ever heard of the expression ta shema? Everyone pretty much knows what that means.
You listen for proof.
Okay, so what do those two words actually mean? Ta, shema.
Come in here.
Right, so ta is the command of come. But the fuller form of the verb, right, the command form is almost always a truncated version, like bo, right? Whereas the real verb is lavo or whatever. So here, the longer form of the verb is the one you have in front of you, and the shorter form is ta shema. And by the way, in the Yerushalyim, it doesn't say ta shema. Anyone wants to bring proof, you know what it says? Ta chazi, right? Come and see. So what's the difference? Because it says in Bavel, compared to Eretz Yisrael, it was like walking in the dark. So you say, come in here. But in Eretz Yisrael, it's like walking into the light. So instead, you want to bring a proof, so just come and see. I'll show you. Like, you'll see it. You'll see the proof. It'll be clear.
And Zohar also uses that expression.
Yeah, because it was written in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived in Eretz Yisrael, and he used Aramaic, the Aramaic of Eretz Yisrael. That's correct. So, this is Ki Asa Rabin would mean, therefore, putting all 3 words together. Rabin is a person's name. You knew that? There was someone named Rabin. Not Yitzhak Rabin. Right? But there's someone actually called Rabin. He lived in Eretz Yisrael, and at a certain point he migrated to Bavel.
Oh, really? Think it's Rabin?
Huh?
Okay.
Well, it might, kind of hint to the fact that maybe Yitzhak Rabin had a bit of a nitzotz of this Rabin. Who knows? I heard from someone that they claimed that he actually had a chavrusa. He was interested in Bichoza B'tshuva. At a certain point, he was ready to Bichoza B'tshuva and give up politics, and someone talked him out of it. But he apparently had a long-standing chavrusa. Someone used to come to him, or he used to go to them. I can't remember. For a number of years, he was learning in high, kind of like in secret. So who knows what level he was at when he died, but he wasn't a simple guy. Many Jews and thoughts of regret. Hopefully. So Ki Asa Rabin will therefore mean what?
When Rabin said.
That's what the original. That's it. You went to prove that Ta means Ta Shema. So Asa means no, he came. So Ki Asa Rabin would mean what again?
Rabin came.
That's right. When he came, you know where he came from? said it a few minutes ago, perhaps it was lost in the sauce. Came from Eretz Yisrael, where he had grown up, let's say, and lived to a certain age, and then he
Into Babel.
went to Bavel, right? Which at the time, the Eretz Yisrael was on the downswing, and Bavel was the place to be. So he left Eretz Yisrael, where he had been a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. So he had a lot of Masoira of Rabbi Yochanan, like in this case, it was hello or something he heard from Rabbi Yochanan. And that's what often happens in the Gemora. There are many places where it says, Ki asa Rabin, when Rabin came, which means when he came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he illuminated a certain subject by telling over what he had heard about that subject in Eretz Yisrael, and he very often was considered to be an authority and was given a lot of credit for what he said. Here as well, Ki asa Rabin, when Rabin came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he took with him the following statement of Rabbi Yochanan.
Rabbi Yochanan.
Right. This is an expression. Echad this, echad that, echad this, echad that. It's like saying, you know what it means as an expression? Probably use the word echad because it means all these things have one thing in common. They're all like one basic halacha. Okay? They all are different manifestations of one particular idea. So you say echad this, echad that, because in a sense they are all one. But what you really, the way we would say that in English, you would say both this and that and that and that. In other words, regarding all of these things, they have the same halacha, which he's going to say after the whole list. So go through the whole list, thinking about what we just said. Echad this, echad that, blah blah blah. It means all of these things have the same halacha. So go through the list. Go ahead.
Echad Shabbat, Echad Shema, Echad Chatzer, Echad
Mekach.
Mekach.
So regarding all these four things, Shabbos, Truma, Chatzar, Mekach,
Kula Ein Kovim Ela Medobar Shem Nigmara Malcha Arutan.
now, let's just take the most important phrase right now. This is the phrase we've been talking about in English, but now you're seeing it in Hebrew. Nigmara malacha means what?
Finish the work.
Literally, its work was finished. But if you think of malacha, especially like on Shabbos, malacha means perfecting something, right? On Shabbos, that's really what the 39 malachas represent, 39 ways of perfecting the world around us, and that's what we're told to not do on Shabbos. So, any normal food has to be perfected. Most people won't eat it until it reaches that stage of perfection. Okay, there are some foods that are a little bit on the borderline, but some people will eat it a little earlier, more raw stage, and some people need it to be, let's say, a more processed stage. But, and it can be flexible, because, for example, ta'anim, okay, you know what ta'anim are? Figs. So, in their day, which I'm not sure if it's still in our day, but in their day, figs were considered to be a finished product, because most people would eat a fig as is, right? Whereas there was a certain minor group of people who took the figs and made it into jam, kind of like fig Newtons, right? So, if you had a fig, it wouldn't always be considered a finished product. Depends what you're intending to do with it. If you're intending to make it into jam, then the raw fig is not yet a finished product. If you want to eat it raw, then if a raw fig is a finished product. So it might depend on you personally, your own intention at the time. Sometimes it depends on the area in which you are living. If in the area that you're living, most people will eat a raw fig and they don't take it to the next stage of changing it into a jam, then the raw fig, without even thinking about it, is a finished product. But if you, like we're going to see later, there's a kind of a place where most people did make it into jam, then it's assumed that it's not a finished product yet, if it's still in the fig stage, right? Okay, so that's the phrase nigmara malachta. Now let's go through the whole statement of what he said. all these four things, which we'll have to get into each one of them and discuss why I would think it does help and what he's saying that it doesn't really help. But all these four things, what is he saying about them? Kulan, he's making a statement about all of them, right? Kulan, all of them, regarding all these four things, Mekach, Truma, Shabbos, etc. What is he saying about them? Ein Kovi, right? You see the word Kovim, Ein Kovim, the fourth line from the bottom. Right. So let's just talk about the phrase Ein Kovim. We've been, we're cheating here because most of us have been through like a number of weeks of this whole concept. So I almost don't have to think about it, but so
It's kavua, right?
it's from the word kavua, right? And it goes along with the idea that I said before that really, ideally, to be chayiv and meiser, a food should have reached kind of like its resting spot, like the place it's supposed to be. So that would be in a storage facility, a finished product. Then it's reached kind of like the target, and obviously then it would be chayiv and meiser when it's reached its target. But when he said that's being kovea. Kovea means I consider it having reached its kind of permanent spot, as it were. Permanent stage and spot. We said physically we need it to be also in a storage facility, theoretically, unless you hold it or that other things can replace that, right? But theoretically it needs to have that kind of permanence in both senses of the word. The product is a permanent product now that it's a finished product, and the place it's in is the place we put finished product. So that two indications, as it were, of it being sort of in a permanent spot. Permanently your food item. So if that's the sign of getting to that point, makes things chayiv and meiser. Whenever you say, look, I think it's become a permanent part of my life at this point, it's already permanent. I don't need it to get into my house, or I don't need to get it to finished product. I don't need all that. It's already permanently part of my life. Then, theoretically, that would be chayiv and meiser. That's being kovea for meiser. Use that expression. So that's the expression they're using here. These things might have been able to be kovea. Shabbos is so chashuv, maybe it's kovea. All these other things, maybe they're kovea. The kovea means maybe it got the food to a spot which is so chashuv and so important to me that it's already permanently part of my life, and automatically chayiv and meiser if so. So that becomes the go-to word for, did it reach that stage at chayiv and meiser, or didn't it reach that stage? That's what that's the barometer. Is it kovea? Is it kavua? So maybe certain things can make it kavua, right? Can these things make it kavua for meiser? So he's saying no. Regarding all these things, they will never make it kovea. They will never make it chayiv and meiser, ella, unless right.
And only if the work, the production is finished.
Right, what we call finished product. Okay? So even though we're going to see a lot of other views, there are a lot of other views on this topic. He's not the only one. He happens to be perhaps, for halachic purposes, the most important one for us right now. It's kind of the finish of the whole sugya, is Rabbi Yochanan's opinion over here. It's kind of like the final say. But he's aware of all the other opinions. That's the point. He knows there are many other opinions than his. And some of them do hold. You can overcome some of these factors. You could do it before. There are other opinions that even if it's not a finished product, as long as it's Shabbos or as long as it's in the chutzner or whatever, it's chayiv and meiser. So he knows that there are other opinions. That's why he's making this statement. He says, I know all those other opinions. I'm not an ignorant fool. I I know about them all. I've studied them all. I've been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you, I've thought about this at length. This is my psak. All his other opinions are wrong. You can never overcome the problem of being an unfinished product. That's Rabbi Yochanan's general rule now. If you have a food that's not finished product, for whatever reason, you can know it's not yet chayv and meiser, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Period. Maybe it's Shabbos, maybe it's all these other things, maybe it makes it more chashuv because it's Shabbos or... No. That's what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. You want a rule to put in your pipe and smoke it? This is the rule. Don't forget this rule. This is the rule you have to remember. Unfinished product
That's it.
is
No kaveya.
not kaveya for meiser, not chayv and meiser. That's it, not chayv and meiser. No tiki, no washi. Right?
Correct.
Unfinished product. And therefore, by the way, the benefit of saying it's not chayv and meiser is you can eat it still without taking meiser as a snack. You put a little bit in your mouth and just pop a
Nibble.
nibble, a nash, kapanash, gesundheit. Right? That's the good. The flip side of this. That's good. It sounds like he's being machmer. Oh, it has to be finished product. But he's actually our friend. Because if you know if the thing is not yet a finished product, you can kapanash without taking meiser, according to Rabbi Yochanan. You can know for sure it's not chayv and meiser. Maybe it's Shabbos, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. No, doesn't make a difference. Nish helfen. Nish kain helfen. Unhealthy. Not healthy. Alright. Now, let's go through the list, and that's what Gemora is going to do one by one. Show you why he had to mention all these four things. Because he mentioned Shabbos, because there's a famous person who says that Shabbos does overcome this problem of not being a finished product. He mentioned each one of these things on the list to kind of negate it and tell you, don't think I didn't know about this. I knew about it. I knew about every single person who said something to the contrary of what I'm saying, and even so, this is my final psak. So it's a way of sort of establishing what he's saying to be authoritative. So now the Gemora is going to go through the whole list. Who did he mean to exclude when he said Shabbos? Who did he mean to exclude when he said Chatzar, etc.? Okay, Sruli, you want to continue?
Yes. Dames en heren, alle praat.
Yes, sir. Fourth dream from the left.
Een cover in het Dorish niet meer belachten.
That's it.
Fixes something, save something for something, why is it only high for a finished product?
That's it. But he said four things that you should know don't matter. Don't change the halacha.
Shabbos, dat ook is a hillel. Shabbos, you can exclude something like
So he said Shabbos in his list as something that won't help unless it's a finished product. Why did he need to say that? Lafuke, to exclude the famous Shita of Hillel. Where did we see the famous Shita of Hillel? We learned in a Beitsa.
When you get this fruit from one place to another place, what cuts it?
Now, some people have that version, some people don't, whatever. He harvested it and took it from one place to another, but he hasn't yet finished it. Okay? So we're talking about an unfinished product here.
Correct.
Just been harvested. All he did was move it from one place to another, but hasn't yet brought it into a house or anything. And then...
Kiddush Alein, you can sanctify it.
Yeah, but you have to say it with the following word.
Kiddush Alein Hayom.
That's right. Kiddush Hayom, that's the expression that Chazal like to use. To signify what? Can you imagine, Jack, what it's signifying? The day became holy. When would you say the day became holy? Even in Montreal. Even in Stamford, Connecticut. Even Shabbos.
Shabbos or Yom.
More so in a way Shabbos, you know why? Because Yom Tov needs Beis Din to say it's Kodesh. It doesn't happen by itself.
Shabbos just happens.
Shabbos, no matter where you are in the world,
7 days.
unless you're on the North Pole where like for 6 months there's no night. You have to look at the clock to know if it's night or not. Right? That's called Kiddush Hayom. Kiddush Hayom means what?
So on that day,
The day became holy.
they became holy.
When you talk about a day becoming holy, Shabbos. Shabbos is when the day becomes holy. All by itself. Right? Doesn't need anyone's help. Even though there's a mitzvah of Kabbalah Shabbos, of accepting Shabbos, Shabbos doesn't need you to accept it. It's Shabbos no matter what. So that's called Kiddush Hayom. Now, Kiddush Alehem Hayom would imply what? Upon these vegetables that he has just gathered, it became Shabbos. It's sort of like Shabbos is now shining on it, right? Now what's it going to do? It's going to take these unfinished fruits and say, but now it's Shabbos. Now it's so chashuv that it's going to be chayav and meiser. So what happens?
Rabbi Yehuda says, Hillel le'atzma also. Hillel himself forbade us to eat on Shabbos.
Okay, so there's two things. First of all, it's not Hillel himself who's talking here. It's who's talking? Rabbi Yehuda. Right? For some reason, it's not said in the name directly of Hillel. It's said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, who heard there was a shita of Hillel on this. But together with hearing that Hillel had said something about this, he also heard something else. That when Hillel said something about this, he said it la'atzma. What does that mean?
For itself.
For itself or for himself?
No, okay, for himself.
For himself. Even with the vav, it could be for itself. But here it's talking about Hillel what? What did Hillel say according to you?
Hillel says
Not allowed to eat what?
something which is not finished.
Even though
Shabbos came.
it's now Shabbos. Right? So we've had a shita before. Right? We've had the shita before that Shabbos is so chashuv it can overcome the chisaron of lo nigmar malachta. Right? We would have thought that maybe. So, what does Hillel hold on that?
It's not allowed, doesn't it? Even if Yerushalyim
Not allowed to eat it. Which means what? Why am I not allowed to eat it?
it's because he's still chayav and meiser.
Still? What do you mean still?
Chayav and meiser.
Right. Before it wasn't. When you say still, it's the actual opposite of what you just said. Before Shabbos, it wasn't chayav. It's not finished product. Now all that happened is Shabbos came. So just the opposite. Till now it was, even according to Hillel, it was chater from meiser, the unfinished product. Suddenly it's Shabbos.
It's chayav and meiser.
Now all of a sudden it's chayav and meiser, and that's what makes it usher to eat. Because once something's meiser, once something's chayav and meiser, you have to first take, not give the meiser. By the way, the important thing is separating the meiser. You can put it in a drawer and give it to the Levi or whatever 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 10 years from now. No. But, right? That's actually what we say, vidui maestros. You know this thing called vidui maestros? Anyone over here of vidui maestros? In Parshas Kisavo? You know how the Parsha Kisavo starts? Bikurim starts talking about Bikurim. At the end of Devarim is Parshas Kisavo.
You bring the first fruits to the court.
And right after that, and you make a whole statement, right? You have what we say at the Haggadah. We say at the Haggadah.
That's what Beitsa.
You say that when you bring your Bikurim, if it's in the proper time of the year, not the whole year, but for certain parts of the year. And then right after that mitzvah of Bikurim in Parshas Kisavo, there's a parsha of another time you say something called Vidui Maestros. Every 3 years you're supposed to say Vidui Maestros. Why?
So that you just make sure you've kept up with
You've
everything.
kept all the halachas of Meiser, including, it says over there, Tiharti HaKodesh min habayis. I took all the Kodesh out of my house. Bi'arti HaKodesh min habayis. I've gotten rid of all my Kodesh. Is that a nice thing to say? You got rid of all your Kodesh when you burned all your Svorim, Chas Shalom? No, it means all the Meisers that I had to give, I got them out of the house and I gave them. I finally got around to giving it to the Levi and to the this and to that. But that's a separate thing. You're allowed to eat the food as long as you separate the Trumas and Meisers. But the actual giving it is a separate mitzvah. You get it, Jack? 2 mitzvahs. They're both important, but you can eat the food after step 1. You don't have to wait till you do step 2 of giving it. You can already eat it.
Separate.
All you have to do is separate it, and then you have a mitzvah to give it, right? But like, for example, today, I don't know if you've ever gone through the actual words that if a person does take Trumas and Meisers today, it's in many Sidurim, especially in Eretz Yisrael, what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to do. It turns out that we actually never give the Levi today his Meiser. For various reasons. We do take off some for Truma, we also don't give it to the Kohen. We wrap it up and throw it away. Never give it to the Kohen because he's also not tahor enough to eat it. So we don't give to the Kohen his Truma, we don't give to the Levi his Meiser. Right? But we do the act of separating it, which allows us to eat it. Okay. So what did Hillel do?
He forbade it.
He got up in shul and he told everyone it's Asr?
Yeah.
No. Lots more.
Say it to himself.
He said it to himself. He told people, this is the way I hold, but he was well aware that they did not paskin like him on this issue. That's what Rashi makes it clear from this word, lots more. And that's why Rabbi Yochanan could stand up in all clear conscience and say, even though Hillel said that, we don't hold like him on that.
Is that what they don't say Eliezer? Is he like announced it?
No. I mean, it could be Hillel told people what he held, but he was aware of the fact that the Chamim were against him. He wasn't trying to clash with the Chamim. So it says he forbid it for himself. That's just I'm pointing out that the word literally means it's like you're machmir for your, like some people they don't tell their family something's us, so they for themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Like carrying, a lot of people don't carry, they don't rely on the Arab, they don't tell their family not to carry. It's too hard, but they know there's a chumrah. Okay, so they're able to, when they can, they're machmir. Anyhow, so the point being, so Rashi said from that word, that's how we know the halach is actually not like Hillel. Because why would he only be makor for himself? Why is it different than any other place where Hillel just said his opinion and that was it? Because he knew that the Chamim of his generation were against him on this issue, so it didn't make him change his opinion. He still held his opinion, but he didn't publicize it. He didn't go against the Sanhedrin because that's actually what Rabbi Eliezer did once upon a time and got him into a lot of trouble. Right? That's called a zakein mamre. Someone doesn't accept the psak of the Sanhedrin. Whether or not he's put to death, that's another story. But it's definitely not right to go against this whole the Sanhedrin. Okay, so Hillel did what? Sruli?
He made the thing by himself also.
What? What thing?
The unfinished product.
That what?
That you're chayav to take rice when Shabbos comes.
So can you eat it on Shabbos?
No.
No, that's why I said it made it usher. Because what he really meant to say is it's chayiv and meiser, but because it's chayiv and meiser, it's usher to eat on Shabbos.
Yeah.
But if you happen to take a meiser beforehand, that would be the smart thing to do. Then you can eat it on Shabbos. If you take meiser before it's actually chayiv, is that okay? Did you do a mitzvah, or do you have to meiser it again later when it's chayiv? Let's say an unfinished product.
Yes.
and you decided to meiser it now because you know soon it's going to be Shabbos. You don't want to wait for Shabbos, then it'll be usher to eat. So you want to meiser it before Shabbos. Well, before Shabbos it's not chayiv, still pater. Even according to Hillel, it was pater before Shabbos, right?
Yes.
Can you take meiser and have it count?
No.
You can't. You can't.
Yeah.
We'll see that later on. Later on, we talk about ta'anim in a place where they used to make it into jam, so it's considered to be before its finished product. And yet it still says when you come to meiser it, you meiser it demai. Why demai? Because even though you bought it from an Amma Aretz, we assume that he may have meisered it even before it was actually chayiv in meiser.
Most of them did, right?
Most of them did it when it was chayiv in meiser. This is a bigger chiddush. Even on a product that was not a finished product yet and was not yet chayiv in meiser, there are enough of them who would have done it then to still make you treat it as demai.
We're going to take Truma, right?
Yeah, truma they do take.
Even we take Truma, but Meiserus is a doubt, so...
Meiserus they didn't always used to take. But I'm just showing you that that's what Rashi says in the Amud Beis. That demai thing is a very interesting thing because it's about a product that's not yet finished. It was ta'anim in a place that used to make it into jam. That means when you get it, it's not yet finished. So when I actually do come to meiser it, I don't have to meiser it right away. But later on, when I do have to meiser it, how should I meiser it? As regular, we'll say with the bracha, or as demai, and I won't make a bracha. So it says that you do treat it as demai, like a suffix. What's the suffix? You got it from Amma Aretz before it was even chayiv.
Because it's already had Meiser's statement.
Because Rashi says, because enough of them used to meiser it even before it was chayiv, that you should treat it as demai.
You can't do that?
You can. It's fine.
Without a bracha.
No, if you don't know if someone meisered something, then you do it without a bracha because you don't know if you meisered it yet or not. Okay. Very good. Let's see the Rashis here. Shabbos, 2 lines from the bottom towards the end. Who wants to read the Rashi? Shabbatai, would you like to try it?
Okay. להגיד צריך לרבי יוחנן. Rabbi Yochanan means learning what to say.
He needed to say it. That's what we're going to keep showing. Why did he need to mention this one? Why did he need to mention that one? Each time he needed to mention it because he knew there's someone who opposes him on that issue and he wanted to make it clear how he holds. So we're saying Shabbos he needed to mention. Why? Keep going.
Okay, to reject Hillel's
Right, to show that he doesn't hold like Hillel.
Halacha Halchata Kibatei.
Okay, stop there.
It's lacking, right?
Late means it's not. It's like ain't.
It's not lacking. The halacha is not lacking.
That's right. That's why Rabbi Yochanan had to make a statement because he wanted people to know that the halacha is not like Hillel. Who's the halacha like then if it's not like Hillel? Ella.
Ella, rather the
Kid.
Rabbi.
Rabbanan. It's actually Aramaic. Alay. On him. Alay means on him. Right. They argue on him, which we were just mentioning a moment ago. We have a statement of Hillel, but it makes it clear he only did it for himself, which is a way of saying he knew that everybody else argued with him, and that's what this Rashi is saying. We pass in like those Rabbanan who did argue with him. So even though that was a rare thing for people to argue with Hillel, but when it happened, if it was the entire generation, we'd have to follow the majority opinion. Okay, next Rashi.
Hillel Atzmo. Hillel Levado.
So wait, right, it said Oser, right? Hillel forbade it for himself. So Rashi's saying the pshat is Hillel Levado. It means alone. He alone. Hillel alone what
Nishama.
Oseh. He's the only one. Rashi's saying it doesn't just mean he did it for himself, but it also implies he was the only one who made it Asr. He's the only one who declared it to be Asr. Out of all the Sanhedrin, he was the only one who declared it to be Asr. Levado, he himself, meaning he by himself, he was all by himself. Right? Like what did Bilam say in praise of the Jews? Am Levada Gishkon. Jewish nation dwells by itself. It's part of its beauty. Right? The most beautiful thing is when Klal Yisrael doesn't feel it needs to imitate the Goyim or drive fast cars like the Goyim. We have all we need right here. So he's all by himself on this. Mashma, what does that imply? Tekol Chalukin.
None of them agreed with him. None of his generation agreed with him.
Right. All the entire generation argue with him on this point. That's another implication of the word la'atzmo is not only he was by himself on this issue, but that also implies the reverse, that the rest of the generation did not agree with him and they held the opposite, that when Shabbos comes in, it does not become chayiv and meiser if what? It's not a finished product. If you're dealing with something that's not a finished product, Shabbos will not. But if it is a finished product, by the way, just you haven't brought it inside the storage unit, the house or whatever, then we had a Beitsa, a Mishnah before that said it would become chayiv and meiser. In other words, this isn't like nobody holds of Shabbos. We agree that Shabbos is a powerful element in making something chayiv and meiser. So it does replace bringing it into the storage area. If you're having it brought into the storage area and all of a sudden it's Shabbos, it could be true what Hillel's saying over here, by the way. That we saw earlier in the Sugya. That everybody agrees on that issue. But that's even really implied in Rabbi Yochanan, if you think about it. He said it won't be koveya if it's not a finished product, but if it's a finished product, Shabbos is koveya. Meaning there's normally two elements: the storage unit, the place where it's normally going to be kept permanently, and the fact that it's a finished product, which is another sign of permanence. So it normally need two signs of permanence: the place where it's now reached, and the sort of the state of its being, a finished product. So we're saying the truth of the matter is Shabbos does overcome one of those. If you haven't yet brought into the storage place, still out in the field or whatever, hasn't yet brought in, and it's suddenly Shabbos, it could really be true what Hillel's saying here. It could become chayiv and meiser. You could dispose of that other element of the needing the storage room. But that's only if it's a finished product.
So why do they use
And Hillel says no, even if it's not a finished product.
why do they say mekom lekom? Because of this.
I guess that's another way of saying he's left it outside instead of inside. He just brought it to another place that's like an outside. Just like the first place he brought it from was outside, the second place he brought it to was also outside. No, I don't think so. My proof is that the first place is called makom as well. Where was it brought from? Certainly an outside place. That's how all fruit and vegetables start, outside somewhere. So he brought it from one makom, which is an outdoor whatever, some kind of garden, and he brought it to another place, which is ostensibly some other outside place. But again, not a storage unit. And by the way, Rashi says later on, that all these cases are talking about where it was never brought into a storage unit. So that is actually a true thing, which since you weren't here in the beginning, you didn't know that, but that was really how the whole sugya started. Shabbos does have a power, there's no question. Shabbos has a power of kind of like being the home. So even if it's not physically in a storage unit, but it's in Shabbos, it's like gotten home. So Shabbos can be that sense of permanence which gives it chiyuv meiser. But like we had the original case, and with Rabbi Yochanan saying the same thing, it has to be finished product. Does everybody agree with that? No. Hillel doesn't agree with that. He said even if it's not a finished product, Shabbos will work its magic. And we had other opinions earlier in the Gemora that also said that. So it's not such a simple thing what Rabbi Yochanan is saying over here, but he definitely wants to impress upon us his opinion, and it kind of looks like we possibly like Rabbi Yochanan on this, so it's important opinion. Okay, so that's the first one, Shabbos, right? So he made his point about Shabbos, right? Even though Hillel held that Shabbos could work its magic even if it's an unfinished product, all the Rabbanan of his generation didn't agree with him. And the way we're saying it, even he himself recognized that and only permitted it for himself, only talked about it being chayav for himself. It wasn't machmir on other people. And the truth is that we possibly like the other Rabbanim of his generation who say that Shabbos, in order to work its magic to be mechayev meiser, it has to be a finished product. The food that has to be a finished product. Okay. Shall we turn the page, gentlemen?
Yes.
Turn a page of life. Okay, next on the list is what?
Chatzar.
Chatzar. Right? Rabbi Yochanan said, even if you brought it to the Chatzar, it's not going to be koveh for meiser unless it's a finished product. Says the Gemora, why did he need to mention that? Who's he fighting against when he says that? Who would like to read, Jack? Would you like to try a bit more?
Chatzar Lafuke, the Rabbi Yaakov.
Period. Right? So what is that saying? Lafuke.
To exclude
Right.
Rabbi Yaakov.
The Kenyan of Rabbi Yaakov. Right? To let you know we don't pass like Rabbi Yaakov. Now, why would you think we pass like Rabbi Yaakov? First of all, Rabbi Yaakov was considered a very chashuv Tana. He doesn't appear very often. Gemora says, Naki, kav v'naki. Kav like a small amount, but always naki, always very clean. Right? It's like someone who sells something in the marketplace. Sells very small amounts of something, but everyone knows it's like the highest quality. That's what the Gemora says about Rabbi Yaakov. Kav v'naki. But it definitely would be a great big havamina to pass like Rabbi Yaakov here. But for some reason, Rabbi Yochanan again says, as chashuv as he was, just like by Hillel, he had a reason for not going like Hillel. He has a reason here for not going like Rabbi Yaakov.
Do we know what he holds?
What?
Do we know what he holds?
We're going to see it.
We're going to talk about it.
No, it's like in each one of these we say he was fighting against a certain rabbi, as we see in the following Beitsa, or as we see in the following mission. So each time we mention what he was fighting against, and then we show you where we find it. Okay, would you like to continue, Jack? Disnan, because we learned in a Mishnah, good.
Ma'avir Se'emin Chatzro.
Okay, so far, what did he do?
Taking figs in this chatzar,
Right.
in the yard.
So, by the way, that should have made it chayiv and meiser right there. You brought it into your chatzar. And we said before, ta'anim are a finished product, right?
Yeah.
Most people used to eat their ta'anim raw. But here we see an interesting kiddush, that even if you're in a place where most people do,
If this stuff raw,
right, they eat it raw, but he himself brought it in with a specific intention. What?
So,
Liksot. Liksot, Rashi explained it before, is like a whole process of, they used to dry it out, and then they used to crush it, and then they used to pulverize it in a way into like a kind of a round container where it basically became like jam. So he wants to process it, right? He wants to make jam. So he did bring it into the chatzar, and it was a finished product in the sense that most people would have eaten it that way. Raw figs. But he had special intention to go further with it, so for him, it was what? An unfinished product. So that's why we're back again to the unfinished product theme. So he brought it into the chatzar as an unfinished product. So what happens when you bring an unfinished product into the chatzar? We say, yes, it's unfinished, but it's in a chatzar. That's a very chashuv place now. It's chayiv and meiser. Or we say, no. As chashuv as the chatzar is, but it's still an unfinished product. So that's a machlokus. So we're going to see on that two opinions. Keep going. No. So that was his intention. Liktzot, to make it into jam. Then we say the halacha is Bana, his children, and the members of his family, of his household, Alright. They can still eat from these figs a snack. A temporary eating, which means a snack. Right? Now it's interesting. Someone from another family, what would be the halacha sruli? No, it says over here that pater.
Another family to eat the stuff of Michael.
Good guess. Why?
Because
What are we talking about? Something that's a finished product or unfinished product?
unfinished.
How do you know it's unfinished?
There'll be somebody else in Michael.
Sure. Is it finished or unfinished?
Unfinished.
How do you know it's unfinished?
I don't know.
Well, if you tell me something, I hope you know how you know. Okay, so what do we see about this? His intention was what? What?
To cut it.
No, lixos means to make jam out of it.
To make jam.
That's how we know that it's an unfinished product for him. Everybody else in the area will eat normally their figs raw. So normally, like Rashi said a long time ago, figs are considered to be what? A finished product or an unfinished product?
Unfinished.
What?
Unfinished.
No, normally they're called finished. Right? When you get a fig, do you eat it or do you wait till you make it into jam to eat it?
Eat it.
You eat it. So is a fig finished product or unfinished product?
Finished.
Finished. So a normal person who brought this into a courtyard, that it's like bingo, right? You ever play the bingo, right?
Yeah.
You feel very excited when someone says bingo, right? Bingo. You have both factors. It's a finished product inside the storage area. What more could you want, right? That's nirvana, right? So you have for sure a chayav meiser, right? Chayav meiser if you eat it without meiser, right? So this guy brought it in with a special intention, right? It's really,
Yeah.
what was his intention?
To eat it.
Lixos,
Jam.
to make jam out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other people in his area, did they used to do that? No, he was a weirdo. Or we call him a specialist, you know, what do we call these guys? Naturalist, right? He makes his own jam. Okay? I'm good at making toe jam. So, now, for him, this is an unfinished product, right?
Yes.
So is it chayiv and meiser?
No.
Even though it came to his chutzner?
Yes.
Yes, it came to the chutzner, or yes, it's chayiv and meiser.
Yes, to come to the Chatzar.
But even though it came to the chutzner, it's still putter. How do you know? Because it says everyone can eat from it a rye, a snack. It's chayiv and meiser, you can't even eat a snack, right? Without taking meiser. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, but since the other people in that area don't usually make it into jam, they usually eat it raw, for everybody else around there, no, it's a finished product. So it's just the opposite. It's a problem now. It's a finished product in the chutzner. Bingo. You should have to take meiser. You can't just eat it anymore. You have to take meiser. Okay? So that's why it says what? Who can eat it? Banav B'nai Beitsa. Why? Because even though they didn't have his intention, but they get dragged in with him. Right? He had the intention to make jam. So everybody who's dependent on him will like chop a rind.
Also not jam.
Well, they may not make the jam, but they're part of his household. So they get to, for them, it's also an unfinished product. So therefore, for them, they can eat it still as a snack without taking meiser. But anybody else, what?
Needs to take meiser.
Needs to take meiser, because for them, it's a
Finished
finished product. So therefore, it's a finished product in a chutzner, bingo, chayiv meiser. That's why it specifies badav u'b'nei beisa. anyone in his household, his family, can eat from it still a rye, can see from it still a snack, is not yet chayev, right? That's what it finishes with. U'paturim l'maiser. Okay?
It's not like tomorrow.
But it's not the same as we had before Lot's, which meant Hillel wasn't, telling anyone else to go and do it. Here it just means that this is the halach of everyone should know it, but it's only going to apply to his own family. Because it's only for his family it's an unfinished product. As far as everybody else in the area is concerned, it's still a finished product. That's what I would be medaying from those words. Okay. Weiter. So do we have two opinions so far?
Rabbi Yaakov.
No, we haven't hit Rabbi Yaakov yet.
So
This is just the Mishnah. No Rabbi Yaakov yet. That's going to be in a Beitsa soon. So far the only opinion we have is what?
Hillel.
No, in this particular question of chatzar, you bring into a chatzar something that was not finished product. What's the halacha so far?
No chayev.
Not chayev and maiser, right? Unfinished chatzar. The important part is that it's unfinished. Unfinished, no maiser. No tiki, no wash. Okay?
Yeah.
Now comes the interesting part. With Tani Allah, who's reading? Jack, you reading?
So his opinion?
So far, just the Stam Mishnah.
It's Tanakama.
It's the Stam Mishnah, not even Tanakama. It's the Stam Mishnah. There's no other opinion in the Mishnah.
Tani Allah Rabbi Yaakov.
But Tani Allah, the Kursor stands by itself, and there was learned upon this a Beitsa. It's like an addendum. It's like a footnote in the Torah Shabbal Peh. We have the Mishnah. We happen to know that there's a Beitsa that addresses the issues of this Mishnah. And in that Beitsa, what it says, two opinions. Rabbi Yaakov Chayev,
Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda.
Oter. There we go. So now we see a machlokus. Rabbi Yaakov says what?
Chayev.
Chayev meaning he holds that even what? When you bring unfinished produce into a chatzar, that is automatically mechayiv. So he says the storage unit is more important than the fact that it's an unfinished product. Unfinished product we can overlook if it's in a store, if it's got home, right? It's like when a child walks in the threshold and he's half dressed, you can be moichelim because at least he came home.
So Chayev is with for Maiser.
Yeah, the subject of this, whatever the subject was in the Mishnah, this goes as like an addendum to that Mishnah. The Mishnah is talking about Chayev and Maiser or not. And it's coming along and saying, but according to Rabbi Yaakov, and remember, Rabbi Yaakov in the eyes of Chazal was extremely chashuv opinion. So it's a big chiddush actually that Rabbi Yochanan is saying, I know there's a Rabbi Yaakov who said it's Chayev. And I know there's Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda who says Pater. I'm siding with Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda on this. Right? Why? Why do you think he sided with Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda and not like Rabbi Yaakov?
This is Nifuke.
Yeah, that's how we know that that's what he moves up to. But why? How did he know he had a right to do that? What gave him the right to do that?
This was only him and his kids.
No, that was the story of who happened to need to know this halacha. But how do we know amongst the two people who are arguing here, Rabbi Yaakov versus Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda, how did Rabbi Yochanan know to go like Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda and say Pater, that it's not chayiv if it wasn't a finished product, and not like Rabbi Yaakov to say it's chayiv and it is chayiv when it's not a finished product? Because that's a Beitsa where we see the machlokus, right? But in the Mishnah, whose opinion is in the Mishnah? Of these two opinions. The Mishnah we just saw says a person brought it to the chatzar with intention to make it into jam, so it's an unfinished product. It says he and his household can what?
Eat it.
Eat it as a snack, right? They can eat it as a snack, and it's not chayiv and maiser. So in that Mishnah, whose opinion was adopted in the Mishnah, in the Stam Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Huda. So that's how Rabbi Yochanan knew, because Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who wrote all the Mishnayos up, when he came to this point, he knew there was Shitas Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yossi bar Huda, and he picked one of them for the Mishnah. Right? Sometimes Rabbi Yehuda Nasi in the Mishnah will tell you all the opinions, but sometimes he'll kind of hide things, right? Here he's hiding in Shitas Rabbi Yaakov. He's not including him in his Mishnah. I don't think he didn't know about him. Right? Yehuda Nasi, who wrote the Mishnayos, made a decision. I'm writing up a Mishnah here. I'm going to make it sound like it's the halacha. That was the koach that he had as a posik, as well as the one who wrote up all the Mishnayos. So when he came to writing a Mishnah, he could make it sound like that was the halacha, as if there's no other opinion. Right? When you read this Mishnah, you don't even know there's another opinion. That's the strength he gave that opinion, that he didn't want anyone to even know about the other opinion. Probably because it's true. If you knew Rabbi Yaakov held the other way, you might be swayed, because Rabbi Yaakov was such a strong opinion in the eyes of Chazal. So that's how Rabbi Yochanan probably knew that even though, as great as Rabbi Yaakov was, but in this case, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, when he wrote the Mishnah, possibly like Rabbi Yosef bar Rabbi Yehuda, when he brought that opinion, and didn't mention even the fact that there was a machlokes. That's how strongly he wanted us to paskin that way. So that's how Rabbi Yochanan probably knew to go like that. Now, let's try to go on then. Shuli, you want to read the next little clip? You missed a word. Truma. Meaning, the third thing that Rabbi Yochanan mentioned in his list of things that it won't help unless it's a finished product is truma. Why did he have to mention it? Truma, well, if you take truma, it won't make something chayav meiser. Why did he have to say that? Why did he have to include truma in his list? So here, he's coming to tell you not to go like Rabbi Eliezer. Why I would think to possibly Rabbi Eliezer, I'm not sure. As I said, first of all, it's a Shmuti. Second of all, even in the Mishnah, we already have a Rabbanan who argues. So I don't know why you need Rabbi Yochanan to tell you that, but okay. So, how do we know there's a Shitas of Rabbi Yehuda who says the opposite? Tisnan.
Tisnan, because it's one of the Mishnah.
Right. Peiros.
Hormone.
Which means
Fruit that had truma taken off.
That the man went ahead and took truma off. Let's imagine there was a pile of fruit out in the field somewhere, and he went ahead and took off truma, which is a small little bit, and hands it to a Kohen. Does that make the rest of the pile chayiv and meiser? In other words, before. If you went ahead and did it before, it was a finished product.
Yeah.
So by the way, here we see for sure that truma works before it's a finished product. Man had been chayiv, but if you went ahead and took truma on a pile that wasn't yet a finished product, it works. It's truma. Your truma is a good truma, and you gave the Kohen something that's really truma, and it really worked to do the mitzvah of truma, even though it's unfinished. But now, the rest of the pile that's left over, do you say now that I went ahead and took truma on the pile, the whole pile becomes chayiv and meiser now, as if it reached its final stage? So we have a machlokus. Rabbi Eliezer Oimer.
Rabbi Eliezer says,
Yeah. No, not says. You misread it. Rabbi Eliezer Osir. Rabbi Eliezer what? And what did he forbid? Le'echol mehem orai. You can no longer eat from the rest of the fruit in that pile, even what? A snack. Which is like an indicator that what? That now it's chayiv and meiser.
Yes.
Right? Because that usually goes together. Once something's chayiv and meiser, you say now you can no longer even eat it from it as a snack until you take off trumas of meiser. But if something's not yet chayiv and meiser, you can eat a snack. Like we said before, with the ta'anim, that he brought them into the chutzner, but his intention was to make jam, so it was an unfinished product, still putter and meiser, so therefore you could eat from it a snack. Okay, so that's Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. Is there another opinion? No. That's it. Very simple. He says it's usher. They say You're allowed to what?
You gotta eat a temporary snack.
Right, you're allowed to eat a snack from it. Which shows that what? They hold
It's not a fruit.
that if you can eat a snack from this fruit, it must be what? It's not yet chayv and meiser. That's the indication, it's not chayv and meiser. So the fact that it took a little bit of truma off from the pile, and now the whole rest of the pile, you could have said is a finished product. No, still unfinished, and still putter from meiser. So you can eat from it a snack. Okay, so that's why Rabbi Yochanan had to say what? Everything has to be a finished product to be chayv and meiser. Even if you took truma off a pile of stuff, it did not become chayv and meiser unless it was a finished product. Why did he need to say that? To let you know we don't pass like Rabbi Eliezer. For whatever reason, we would have thought maybe we pass like Rabbi Eliezer on this. You know why maybe we have thought you pass like Rabbi Eliezer, Shabbatai? Because remember Rav Shimi Bar Ashi's statement before?
Yeah.
He said, you know why Rabbi Eliezer holds this way about Truma? Because the way he holds about Shabbos.
Because if someone comes along and takes Truma, it becomes okay.
What do you mean it becomes okay?
You can tick on it.
Tick on what?
If product needs Truma and it hasn't been taken off, you eat it, someone comes and takes Truma off it, it's tickled, you can eat it on Shabbos.
Okay, we're talking about Shabbos. We're not talking about Shabbos. We're talking here about a regular day of the week.
Sorry, what's the question?
Why do we need to be told the halacha is not like Rabbi Eliezer? Why would I think to pass like Rabbi Eliezer? There's a chachamim here who say it's forbidden. Why would I think to go against that chachamim? Why does Rabbi Yochanan have to tell me, you know what? We don't pass like Rabbi Eliezer on this. You come and take truma from a pile, it doesn't become chayv and meiser. Of course, I would know that without Rabbi Yochanan. It says in this Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer says it's chayv and meiser, but the chachamim were matir. The chachamim say it's not. Why would I think to go against the chachamim? They're the majority.
Because he's you know what?
No, but that's not a reason to pass him. It's a reason to avoid him.
Yeah.
But I think maybe according to Reb Shimi Bar Ashi, what he said earlier in the sugya, he connected up this thing about Truma making it chayv and meiser with Shabbos making something chayv and meiser. Remember that? He said Kal v'chomer. Remember his Kal v'chomer?
Kol shekei meiser.
Kol shekain meiser. Kol shekain Shabbos. He said if Truma can make something chayv and meiser, Kal v'chomer Shabbos can make something chayv and meiser. We ask, what's the Kal v'chomer? What's this Kol shekain? What's the comparison? We say because what you really did when you took off Truma from this pile, you fixed it up in a spiritual way. That's all you did. You didn't actually do something to the fruit. You just took off 2 apples and gave them to the passing by Kohen. The rest of the stuff was just the same fruit that it was before. But it's fixed up in one little respect. Now you don't have to take Truma on that whole pile. You fixed up that aspect. Until now, Truma had to be taken on this pile. Now you fixed up all the fruit there vis-a-vis the Truma. Now Truma doesn't have to be...
It's still unfinished, right?
It's still not finished, but you fixed it up to some extent. You've done a tikkun, spiritual tikkun to the entire pile now. So we're saying maybe if you hold that spiritual tikkun gave it a certain chashivus of being like a finished product, to some extent, that's going to be chayv and meiser, according to Rabbi Eliezer, we said Kal v'chomer Shabbos would do that. Which the Gemora actually accepted that. Rabbi Eliezer is one of the people who holds, like Hillel, that Shabbos can make something chayv and meiser even if it's an unfinished product. All Reb Shimi Bar Ashi did was say that I think it's connected to what he says by Truma. Alright? Okay, you'll review it later. So all I'm saying is that maybe, since we know there are many people who hold like that by Shabbos, so we think maybe there's also the same Havamina to Paskin like in Truma as there was to Paskin like, let's say, Hillel regarding Shabbos. Just like he had to tell you we don't pass like Hillel in Shabbos, he wants to tell you we don't pass like Rabbi Eliezer in Truma because it's the same kind of Havamina according to Rabbi Shimon Bar Ashi. They do go together. Excuse me. So, all right, that's neither here nor there. Okay, then we have a last halacha here.
Who's reading?
Shabbatai, you want to read?
Shmamina.
Mekach.
No, we're not done that far. Last word of the line, mekach.
Mekach. You read this, right? Ketatanam.
Yeah, but let me just point something out for a minute. This is the fourth thing that Rabbi Yochanan mentioned, right? He told us there are four things that I know there are others out there who say these things make it chayiv and meiser. I want to make it clear that they don't unless it's a finished product. Well, each one of them we explained, he had to tell you because you may have thought otherwise based on the fact that there's some important opinions out there that hold the contrary. We showed you by Shabbos, by Chatzar, by Truma, now we want to show you by Mekach. But the difference is, in all the other cases, we immediately said La Fuke, the other Shita that he doesn't hold like. Here we're not saying that. Here we're doing it in reverse. I don't know why we reverse it here. But we're saying, he's really telling you to go like the following opinion. And it won't say La Fuke until later we're going to have a La Fuke. For some reason, La Fuke is pushed off till later. Right now, what are we doing? We're going to show you where Mekach doesn't make something chayiv, like Rabbi Yochanan said. So unlike the first three, where when we told you, why did he have to mention Shabbos, Lafuke Hillel? Why did he have to mention Chatzar, Lafuke Rabbi Yaakov? Why did he have to mention Truma, Lafuke Rabbi Eliezer? And here it should have said the same thing. Why did he have to say Mekach, Lafuke somebody else? No. Instead of going to the Lafuke right away, it's telling you, why did he mention Mekach? Because it's a true halacha. Now we're going to show you the truth of what he said before we get to the Lafuke. Seems like here we want to prove Rabbi Yochanan's right first, and then we get to who was he trying to exclude. So now we're not saying Lafuke, we're saying Kiddusanan, or if Kiddusanya, Rashi says Kiddusanan, but I think whatever. Right, it's a question whether it's a Mishnah or a Beitsa, but either way, we're bringing a proof to what Rabbi Yochanan said. Unlike the other cases where he didn't prove what he's saying first, we just told you who he's coming to exclude. Here we're actually telling you, by the way, how do we know Rabbi Yochanan's correct on this? Kiddusanan or Kiddusanya, as we know in a Beitsa or Mishnah, and then we have a Beitsa or Mishnah here telling you that even though there was a Mekach done, but if it was an unfinished product, it will still be Patur and Maisa. Okay, we have to stop here.